Yeah. So another topic I'd like to go into is um, whistleblowers in South Africa. A specific whistleblower, Stephen Mitford Goodson. He basically disclosed criminal dealings within the South African Reserve Bank, and you know, he also outed the fact that FW de Klerk has 12 billion in an overseas bank account, Liechtenstein bank account. 12 billion. So basically, now we know what it costs to betray a nation. From for an individual, what their selling price was. I mean, at least he had a high standard. If that's all the consolation we can take back from that. Um, he also exposed in a video which I'll put in the link of this recording when he was questioned by the police. I mean, this is the level of absolute corruption, mafia style controlled. Where basically the mafia are also the police, as well as the fact that they are just criminals and thieves and so on. But he is getting interrogated, and he actually shows what happens when um, take on a person who's firstly in the right and secondly has a sharper mind than what they expected. Because a lot of people become tongue tied. I'm sure I'd be mumbling and stumbling a little bit, and well, you'd look a lot more guilty. But he actually turned this interview around and ended up making it an interview of the police captain, whoever was investigating him, and also red pilling this police captain on the whole process. And I think it's very much worth watching and listening to. But the standout things to me are, why they had the secrecy clauses included in 1989 to cover up the fact that 3,000 tons of our gold sitting overseas already was actually handed over to Americans banks that were insolvent. I think Citibank was one of them. You can find out all the information in his little talk that he's giving on the recording. So the police captain was also recording as well, but so was Stephen Mitford Goodson and his attorney. He was under basically arrest or investigation for writing this book that he wrote and exposing the inner goings on of basically who really are the criminals. But you got to like the tone in this interview, how he turned the whole thing around and showed what, who's a guy that I've met, and he's like very calm and unassuming, but kind of like a guy who bases everything on common sense and logic. But it just shows that you corners the wrong person. And then it also what shows us is how the only way that the mafia, Bolshevik oligarchs can deal with these guys is to get rid of them. And I say that with bearing in mind that he's died at a way what seemed to me prematurely of cancer, and this is something that they can give somebody. There's nothing they can't give a person. Essentially, let them die. It can be a heart attack, cancer, whatever. There's so many ways they can bump people off surreptitiously. I mean, even in Roman times, the Romans, used poison a lot of the time, and that was how they got rid of people. And nowadays, people are too dumb to detect poisons, and magically hospitals can't do decent autopsies. And even in Roman times, they figured this stuff out. But nowadays, nobody can seem to notice that far too many important people are dying at a much younger age. People who are smart and fairly affluent. Breitbart was another one that I keep mentioning. When you in contrast compared to the Soruses who seem to live forever and ever, the Rothschilds, even our dictators in Africa. Mugabe just had a ridiculously long life. Mandela lived a very long time. When access to reasonable health care is available, people should be living to 80, 95 years of age. But these people are dying at 45 to 60. The information's out there anyway, but they were obviously preventing even more kind of impetus and the information coming straight from the source itself. And these kind of deaths are very suspicious to me. Someone dying of cancer, it is possible. They can make that look like an accident or like a natural death, of cancer. It is totally doable. You look at that Russian agent who was killed with the uranium pellet, and the thing is, it's microscopic. So they could put a grain of plutonium or something in food, whatever. There's no ways you can say that it's not possible, and it's just conspiracy theorists. It's too convenient. These deaths of a lot of these people, it's just too convenient. And this is, Epstein killed himself. That's what everybody is being told. Of course, 3 hours of videotape missing. Giving him enough time to pack a bag, take a few photos of well done makeup of his body, whatever. Now he's having a mojito in Tel Aviv with Ghislaine Maxwell, no doubt. While Prince Andrew's disappeared from the headlines as well magically. You got to go over these things again and again because people just seem to forget, and I don't see very many people asking questions. That just seems like people move on to the next topic, and what you got to do is grab these topics, one at a time and break them. It's like trying to break a stick one at a time versus trying to break a whole bunch of sticks all at the same time. Don't let them add all these different layers of topics. Got to go and stick with and force the mainstream media and let them know in no uncertain terms the public is not left the last issue and is still grasping onto that issue. They haven't even uncovered really exposed the Rotherham, the extent of all these, British and English towns, sex abuse scandals, which were facilitated by the police. I'm sorry to say. They used racism as an excuse. But I honestly think that they was way, way more sinister than even that. They used the fear of being called racist. Said, the officers were too afraid to investigate because they were afraid of being called racist. That's bollocks. They could have easily, investigated. So, but what we got to glean from all of this is the money, the amounts of money involved in South Africa. When you talk about 3,000 tons of gold that was handed over to, basically insolvent banks of America, our gold, and, it's done in stages, obviously, without public knowledge. I think it was kept in a airport bank somewhere in Europe. Why it was there is also already, already the steps are being taken. We should have our own gold in our own country. But then you look at these rioters, these continual riots going on in the country, non-stop, with people burning perfectly good facilities where they've been given bursaries in the first place. They're so dumb they shouldn't even be there in the first place. And I don't mean dumb from genetically being incapable. They're dumb because they just refuse to actually learn anything. If you chop them up and you open up their skull, there's still physically a brain inside there. But the way they act is just absolute entitlement and the commentary that goes across is not helpful either, because people say, oh, well, this is the future of our country. These people won't have jobs because who's going to employ them? Are you shitting me? I mean, did you not see with Nelson Mandela? Like, he became the most venerated hero worship person on the planet. These bed burners and rock throwers, and sometimes they are physically assaulting people. Maybe they'll move on to burning people, necklacing. That's your future triple BEE compliance. Window dressing people, earning top dollar, driving a top car. You know, and that's basically the model that they're following. Is Mandela, a Marxist revolutionary who blew people to pieces and became much adored and has 20-foot statues made in his image. So I don't really get where people are talking about, well, they're not going to have a future or whatever. They have a future. Currently, the way things are going, you're the one who's not going to have a future. People need to wake up and also understand that the engineered perspective of these things. Buddha, strong words mentioned on YouTube about, if these people burn our students and do this and that, what's going to happen and the war that's going to happen. But they never mention any kind of retribution towards the people who are funding. So what you'll do is you'll win one battle after another, and eventually you'll lose because they've just got an endless, they're going to keep resupplying new people. It's ludicrous. You can't win a war until you break its source. You just can't. It's impossible, especially when they got the numerical advantage, on top of all of that. If they got through the entire population of South Africa, they got the rest of Africa lining up to get in as well. So numerically, via laws of the rules of attrition, even if you've far superior soldiers or whatever in your defense, which I don't see much evidence of this either. It's currently, as many Afrikaners have been murdered as have, criminals died trying to kill them, possibly more. I'm not sure of the stats in that regard. But, this is the kind of nonsensical route that we keep, we've been going down this road for a long time. I guess Eugene Blanche was the first to kind of go down that road. And we kind of looking at a situation where, that statement, insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's where that kind of comes to mind. You have to sort out the source of these problems that we have. And you follow the money, of course, and start using intelligence rather than just brute force. You need a bit of both, but start looking at the intelligence side of things and discovering who your real enemies actually are. Maybe it's moved on from the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Perhaps now it's Soros's and other people that are unknown to us, but they can be discovered. I mean, there are some pictures of various people with Malema, even recently. These Bolshevik oligarchs, no doubt, in very serious talks with him. And it's not good enough to just let these people go scot-free. They should be absolutely under scrutiny non-stop now. And we're not going to get anywhere if we don't do this. So anyway, that's all for now, and hope you enjoyed it. Leave comments, like it, subscribe. I don't care, but just give it exposure. Give me exposure, give other people exposure. I'll put that link of, Stephen Mitford Goodson's recording in the video. Have a lovely day, evening, or morning. Ciao.